Stinky Drake be like, you used to call me on your smell phone?
Stinky Drake be named Drake Smell.
That's not the same Drake.
I know, we're branching out. They're both stinky. Yeah. Honestly, for the same reason.
Yeah, actually, both for endangering a minor.
With their presence.
I liked when Drake Bell changed his name to, what was it?
Drake Campana. And then he's like, I'm making Mexican music and live in Mexico now. And then he endangered a minor there and went missing. Fun stuff.
What a weirdo.
He never thought that it'd be so simple, but he finds a way.
If you open up your eyes. This is Horror Sucks. I'm Carter Rhodes, and Ashley's once again dead, this time for unknown reasons. And with me, as always, is my guest star, Ian McGregor.
Hello, I'm your backup, Ashley, once again.
Yeah. This time we don't know what happened to Ashley. I mean, like, she's fine. I just don't know what she's doing tonight.
Fine. Yeah, maybe she has like a work thing. I know they had like an opening night.
I don't mean like we don't know what she's doing, like she's missing. It's just I don't know what her plans are for the night.
Yeah, she very cheerily said that. She's not around tonight.
This week, Ian and I have decided to do an all-time great, The Bye-Bye Man, except it turns out we already did that, so we're going with the next best thing, Feardotcom.
Woohoo!
All one word, only fear and com are capitalized.
Are they even?
Yep.
I thought it's all lowercase.
I thought it was. Maybe I'll have to check.
Oh, no, it's the... You know, the capitalization's all over the place. The E and R in fear, the O and T and dot, and the C and O in com. So if you put that together, you get Iroko. I'm
just going off of the IMDb thing, their translation, which now that I read is just the first letters capitalized.
I was reading the poster. Like a schmuck.
So, this movie is an absolutely grisly 101 minutes that we had to limp through. And when was the first time we watched this?
We definitely watched it at your place. I want to say either late high school or like early college.
I think it was early college.
Yeah.
First off, Ian, ask me what I'm doing this weekend.
What are you doing this weekend?
We are participating in a film festival in which we try to make a movie in 48 hours.
The we being...
Me, Ashley, and a couple of Amherst friends.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
What's your ideas so far?
Well, technically, we're not allowed to come up with anything yet, but I did have a great idea. If they give us the genre for streamer, which I absolutely detest that that's a genre.
Oh, like a recreated Twitch stream?
I guess so. My idea is we would live stream 48 uninterrupted minutes of us preparing an unshown, unnamed movie. We just submit the footage of us making the movie without ever actually making a movie.
I like it. Just like you guys like making props.
Yeah, that are never shown on screen.
That are never used.
Extremely vague, like storyboards that are just like emotion circled a whole bunch. And we need to bring out the characters. Who are they? Let's get to know them.
Wow. And in doing so, we'll get to know you.
Yeah. So that's about all I have for plans, and that's fair because I'm not allowed to even have come up with that yet. So
that's true.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Ask me what I'm doing this weekend.
What are you doing this weekend?
I'm going to my brother's graduation, including a fancy dinner planned by the parents of his rich friends, where I will eat fiddlehead ferns. The worst vegetable ever.
What on earth is a fiddlehead fern?
You've seen it, definitely. It's that plant that like curls like a fiddle's head, if you will.
Okay.
Like think of like a curled up fern.
Frankly, I'm not sure I know what a fern is.
You know what
I know how to use it. I know how to use it in a sentence.
You've never seen a fern?
Well, I thought it was just a vague term for like some kind of grassy thing.
Oh man. They look like...
Oh, yeah, those don't look good.
This.
Yeah, I don't care for that. So what do they taste like?
Bad. They taste like they look. They're just like chewy, grassy, whatever. But the vegetarian options at the place are lacking, so I will enjoy mushrooms and unenjoy fiddlehead ferns.
Yeah, the mushrooms sound tasty. Fiddlehead ferns do not.
They look cool. That's all they're good for. They're like snail shaped. They're like the escargot.
Have you ever had a vegetarian corn dog?
Yes.
It's a cat tail.
I think I've seen a video of this, but if you like disturb or like puncture a cattail, it absolutely explodes.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen someone try to eat one and just
Yeah, they're like, haha, a joke. They bite into it and it just explodes.
Suddenly your mouth's full of cotton.
Yeah. So, let's get into the horror sucking.
Yes.
So,
because it sure does.
yeah, so what we're going to do is first, Ian is going to read the plot. I'm going to give you some fun facts. They're not that fun this time, but they are curated, unlike Ashley's. Then we're going to break down the good, the bad, and the spooky. Basically just tell you what we liked, didn't like, and found spooky about the movie. And then we'll tell you some overall thoughts and give you a fun old quote. I want to talk shit about Ashley.
Oh.
She always, just has on her phone the IMDb facts and just reads them off, which, first of all, is not curated, so I have to edit it afterwards where she's like, no, that's a bad one.
You edited them out? I thought you just let them roll.
Well, no one wants to hear her, just muttering to herself, scrolling for good facts. So I'm just absolutely steaming whenever she does that. And then also, she definitely has dyslexia because she just will not be able to read it right. She'll be like, I can't even think of a good example, but it's why I always make fun of Ashley for being unable to speak, is like...
But if she has dyslexia, you should probably make fun of her a little less.
Then she shouldn't be reading directly from her phone to the thing. This is something that can be easily fixed that she is not doing.
I would say, shame on Ashley. She should, write down curated versions or whatever, but I am not doing that with the plot.
The plot's a little different because you only get it from one place anyway. It's not like you have to pick and choose which sound good.
That's fair, but there's going to be a little delay as I read the Wikipedia words and translate that to whatever I watched.
Reading the Wikipedia page, I was like, they really abbreviated what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
So, why don't you take us away?
All right.
Wait a minute. Before we do, Ian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for those who just got here? I forgot to open that episode. This is
my fourth, maybe fifth time on
in the last couple months.
I've been a mystery entity until now. I don't know. I'm Ian. I've known Carter forever. I've known Ashley for also just about forever.
A little bit less ever, but
slightly less ever. Carter is the Cub Scout lead, whereas Ashley came in just a few years later. I like horror, but I don't have a lot of time to watch it. But this is great because it forces me to carve a bad movie into my otherwise busy schedule.
Yeah. What were some of the ideas that you floated for this? Because you did pick FeardotCom.
Yes, I did. So I'm actually pulling it up on my phone. So the candidates for today's episode were, of course, FeardotCom, 1408, because...
With John Cusack.
That one was actually decent.
It was pretty good.
I enjoy 1408. Dracula 3000, which was the runner-up for the episode where the Bone Snatcher chose me from the Bull Moose shelf. Dracula 3000 looks really bad, but the art on the DVD is a really cool Geiger-esque vampire skull. It does not deliver on that art. And also Cairo/Pulse, which I bought at the same time as the Bone Snatcher and has been sitting on my to-watch pile in front of my TV for over a month now. But this is great because this is the start of my internet horror arc.
Yeah. Ian, you were actually, I believe, one of the main reasons that I like shitty horror movies is because we always used to just find the shittiest thing we could from Bull Moose.
Yes, and it was always in the horror section. That's where you find the reliable shitty.
Yeah.
I love that 18 pack of DVDs we got, and I liked the Snake movie from that.
I was trying to think of what it is. Slither, maybe?
I don't think so because I was looking at movies and I saw Slither and I was like, Snake? And no, I remembered that that's one about like parasitic maggots or something.
I don't remember the name of the movie, but it was like this very slasher-esque movie of a snake that eats people.
Or no, it was like there's like a creepy trucker guy, and I think he gets killed and like thrown off a bridge, and an evil snake like comes out of a grave and possesses him.
It's been a while since I've seen
the same movie.
I honestly don't remember.
Okay, there's like a sarcophagus, there's like a voodoo woman. You know, you find that 18-pack. We'll watch that, and we'll watch Curtains.
Curtains, yeah. We never got around to watching Curtains.
It was Curtains for us.
Yeah. So, take us away with the plot this time.
Okay. Bear with me. We get an open. It's rainy out. And we get a very shaken up looking guy with like blood coming out of his nose and eyes. And he's clutching a book, and he's walking down the stairs into the subway. And, it's just pouring rain. It's really grimy. And he looks to the right and he sees a really adorable Saint Bernard, like panting at him. And then he sees a ball that a girl is playing with in the train tracks. And he's like, oh no. And he jumps in to save her. And suddenly there's an oncoming train and she's just like frolicking on the tracks. Eventually the train is getting too close. He like presses up against the wall to try and avoid it, but then decides that's not a good idea and jumps in front of the train and says, stop. And we see the conductor of the train, and he is not reacting to this at all. He's just like another day on the job for him. Our man gets hit by the train. He actually isn't in that bad shape, as we see shortly after with police arriving at the scene. But before that, as he's dying, he sees like the flickering, almost neon outline of a woman, or maybe the girl.
It was the
genuine. Girl. Okay, it was genuinely hard to see. And then his hand starts to do like a TV statically, like a. And then the cops show up, and they see he's like bleeding from the eyes and nose, and he's like screaming from before he was hit. So they see the blood, and our cop, who is the handsome man Mike Riley, calls the Department of Health, and Terry Huston shows up, this redhead woman, and I'm just going to call her DOH girl. Yeah. No, now that I know her name, I'll try and call her Terry.
They really didn't use names a whole lot in this movie.
They used Mike a lot because Terry is like, Mike! But Terry does not get referred to as often. She's actually more of our point of view character than Mike is. Yeah. For most of the movie.
Yeah.
After, actually, I think in between these two scenes of the guy getting hit by the train and Mike showing up at the scene, we get a scene of Terry waking up, and she like goes to put on her slipper and she finds a dead rat in it, and she's like, and she looks at her cat and she's like, Benny, why would you do this? I guess we're in the same business. Because they're both rat catchers.
I was so afraid that they were gonna be like, cause she's a cop. And I'm like, I
thought that too. I forgot how it went, and I thought she was the detective, and I was like, ooh.
I didn't like the symbolism of a police officer being like, my job is to kill rats.
I've got a lot of thoughts on that. I hope you didn't miss the other moments like that later in the movie.
I just, at a certain point, I just have to take police brutality in horror movies at its face value. Otherwise,
I guess. Anyways, Terry shows up. She and a bunch of men in hazmat suits like test the body for viruses, and she's like, oh, it could be Ebola. And in the meantime, they find a German woman in a really dingy ass apartment who had drowned in a bathtub. They recover a camcorder from her apartment. They test her too. They rule out it's not a virus. For some reason, Terry stays very involved in the investigation throughout the entire movie, despite her jurisdiction presumably being over with that taken care of. They view the footage on the camcorder. The boyfriend of the drowned girl is also taken into custody. He's bleeding from his eyes and nose, and he's like raving in German. They watch the video. Terry's there too for some reason, she and Mike. And it's, I don't know, they're just fooling around with a camcorder. Eventually, they film themselves typing on their computer. And they go to a website, and suddenly they both look like really shocked and like dazed, and then they turn off the camera, and then we get more just footage of them fighting and bleeding from their eyes, and something happened, and then the girl drowns herself in the bathtub. They see that the computer's involved, and they collect the hard drives of all these people who they've had as victims, and they send them to Mike's friend Denise, who is a programmer, and she does something to them. I don't know how old computers work, but
I'm pretty sure programmers are a fake job, by the way.
I'm a programmer.
What does someone just say, hey, program a program, and you're just like, got it.
Yeah.
It's like if someone's like...
But it's written up in a little ticket, and they're like program this program, and then you program the program.
I don't believe it. It sounds like if someone's like, hey, write a math problem and then solve it. I'm like, easy.
No. No, it's more like getting handed a math problem and then you solve it. Come on.
All right. It still seems like a fake job.
I'm going to call Denise. Denise is actually a forensic programmer. So she's a programmer who works for cops.
So she programs crime?
Yeah.
That's got to be a fake job.
She makes internet crime happen. So Denise does something on the hard drives. She says she's running through the files, but it actually seems like she's comparing their browser history. I don't know if this is from 2002. So I don't know if old computers somehow stored all their browsing history like on the hard drive.
Incognito mode hadn't been invented yet.
It had not. And she finds that the only website they all had in common was FeardotCom.com.
Hell yeah.
And yes, that is feared, the word com, dot com. More on that later. And when she goes to it, it's like the word for it, I don't know what the word for it is. If you've played Jackbox, it is very much like, the aesthetic of the website is very much like Trivia Murder Party. Mm-hmm. Like,
it's a, like, live snuff film, basically.
No, it's like live, it's a torture live stream, but I mean the website itself is like chunky images of knives and like conveyor belts and like squeaky rusty walls, and it's
I described it as an M-rated point and click adventure.
That's really what it is. The cursor is like a chunky little disembodied hand.
Yeah.
And it like very much like moves when you click on something.
And then like they always had those mouses where you would click and be like very loud.
I love those. Honestly, it's kind of fun. So Denise opens it, and there's like this European woman like standing in a doorway. It really is like a M-rated point and click adventure game, the way it's laid out. It even has the little menu bar. Yeah. She's like, do you want to play? Do you want to hurt me? And Denise doesn't. I don't know if Denise responds. Anyways, Denise gets cursed, basically. And like zooms in on her eye. There's like a vague puncturing effect, for lack of a better term. And she sees a bug crawl out of her computer and she squishes it. Over time, she sees more and more bugs, and 48 hours. And she sees the girl with the ball. The ball turns into more bugs. 48 hours later, her apartment is covered in bugs. She's writing binary on the floor. She's very sweaty. And then she throws herself out a window after a wave of cockroaches attacks her. So before this, she does manage to tell Mike about the website. Mike visits it to try and figure out what's happening. Basically, the same thing happens to him, but not with bugs. I'm trying to remember. The main vision I remember from him is he's in an elevator, and there's like a woman in there with him. Yeah, a spooky looking woman.
Yeah, I don't think it ever actually showed his fear. Is like,
get to that.
Okay.
I think I know his fear.
Intimacy?
No.
Okay.
There's like a spooky woman dressing like she's ready for a funeral. And
well, wasn't that the woman from the thing where she's like, don't you want to me?
I don't. It would actually make sense if it was. I wasn't sure. She had her face mostly covered. Mm-hmm. But
this part of the movie is literally just described on Wikipedia as they track down the killer. Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't mention the killer.
Oh shit, we didn't mention the killer. Okay, let me finish talking about Mike's hallucination. Yeah. There's very much like parallel. There's two almost separate views we get in this movie. So Mike sees a scary lady in the elevator. She like drops her glove while she's walking out. The door like stops on it, and he goes to pick it up and give it to her. But when he looks up, it's a spooky woman. I think it's actually the corpse
Yeah, it's definitely the same woman, but now she's a corpse.
Yeah, and he gets this awful, like, strobe light, jump cut, wiggly cam. The wiggly cam is when it, like, imagine the camera's like a parallelogram, but you still, have it cut to a square. It's awful.
You know in Saw, whenever they'd, like, grab their head and the camera would go in a circle around them, very choppy? They did that a lot, except way choppier, way faster. Way more disorienting.
It's rough. Anyways, Mike passes out from this and is hospitalized for a while. But while we've had this, I totally forgot about the doctor. He is just called the Doctor by Mike, because of course Mike knows him before the start of the movie. His actual name is like Dr. Alistair.
Yeah, it was like Alistair something.
Alistair, I'm going to call him Frat.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So also near the start of the movie, after this body is discovered, we get Alistair, who talks like the nerd emoji.
Yeah.
I hate 2 episodes in a row. We've got our nerdy boys.
Yeah. He's like, it was like discount Jigsaw. He's like, fear is
I've got some quotes.
Bring him out.
Of course I'm gonna kill you. And, the internet has politics, porn, proselytizing, so death is a natural component. Yeah. I wish I could feel your pain, but I can't feel anything. I've been deprived of that. I'm gonna stop, but like, so many of my bads were just specific quotes from this guy.
I have a whole section about him in my bad.
Yeah, I can talk more. He's like a just the vibes of like Heath Ledger's Joker, but into the absolute worst.
I said discount Joker. Like,
yes.
You want to know why I torture women?
I
was on a mountain with my friend, and we were lonely. We were just looking after these cattle, and one night we start wrestling, and I kiss them. What? And that's when we start making love. It's Brokeback Mountain.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's really good.
Wait, is Heath Ledger in it?
Yeah, and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, God.
Hey, you get to see Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger have sex, and you get to see Anne Hathaway's boobs. It's a hell of a movie.
Wow.
Even ignoring what a great story it is.
Yeah, at the start of the movie, around when the other opening stuff is happening and they're first finding the bodies, we see him, like, basically invite this random woman at the movie theater, like, ticket booth to, like, I think you could be a leading lady in my new movie. And then he invites her to, like, an abandoned silo.
Yeah, he gives her a business card that's, like, not a rapist.
Yeah. No, it just has an address on, like, a dingy slip of paper. Anyway, she goes, and he chloroforms her while German rock music plays. And I don't know if that's supposed to be diegetic because he's also filming it and maybe he thought it would be the right soundtrack. But either way, it's absolutely awful, whether it's added by the movie or supposedly in character for him.
Mm-hmm. And this is like a shitty little digital camera that...
Oh yeah, this is a camcorder on a pedestal. His lighting setup is pretty all right, though. It's got strobe lights and like a circle.
Well, it was a theater, like...
I know. No. This is in the abandoned missile silo.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Or the nuclear plant. Or the steel mill. You know, they actually are not clear which it is because they mention like at least 2 of those things.
It's definitely a cooling tower. I don't know if it's nuclear. Okay. It's believable that could be steel.
I think it's a nuclear tower because they say, like, later in the movie, they see a poster of it in the doctor's apartment.
Yeah.
It's like a magazine cover, and it's like, nuclear's not the future. And then I guess he saw that magazine, and he was like, my new base.
Yeah.
But they also mention a steel mill, and, you know, it's whatever. It doesn't matter.
Sorry.
Anyways, so the content, the doctor's involvement, besides being sought by the cop for most of the stories that he's, you know, filming himself torturing this girl and preaching his weird internet Joker views to FeardotCom live stream. So yeah, that's what he's doing. And they're trying to track him down. So Mike ends up in the hospital after he meets the scary woman in the elevator. Gonna look at her name to do her justice. Is it Terry? Yes. Terry is like, oh no. And goes to the website. At this point, the characters know that 48 hours after you see the website, you die. Unless you die earlier by suicide. Yeah,
we mentioned
you can't take it.
We mentioned Mike went to the website. What we didn't mention was Denise. Like when she died, Terry was like, Mike, you gotta promise me you're not gonna go to the website. And he's like, I promise. And the second
he doesn't
the door
say
shuts,
anything. Actually, he does not.
Well, just the
he
second
just like
the door
hugs her, and then he immediately goes on the website.
FeardotCom.com.
So Terry goes on the website, and I don't know. She talks to the European hostess woman Jeannie on the website, the like front desk lady of the website. And she's like, find me. Stuff happens. I don't know. When you get cursed by the website, you have a bunch of visions, almost like in Rings. Yeah, but more on that later. Yeah. And Terry basically uses some of these plus Jeannie's name to find Jeannie's mom and talk to her through some childhood photos in Jeannie's mom's house. It's confirmed that the ghost girl playing with the ball that others have seen before they die is Jeannie as a kid. And that her greatest fear was knives because she had hemophilia. Did I mention that people were dying because of their greatest fears? This is never shown. This is always told to us.
Yeah. They really, of all the emotions, I just didn't really pick up much fear from the train guy. It was like, he seemed to not want to get hit by a train. The guy in the car
his fear of dogs? Because why was there a St. Bernard in the station? Did that scare him onto the tracks? The car crashes guy, he died in a car crash. That was Terry's boss. She remarks afterward that he was deathly, unusually afraid of car crashes.
But he very much did. He just looked like he didn't want to die in a car at that point. He didn't look like, oh God.
The German girl who drowned, it's, they say in the forensic report that she was afraid of drowning. We can only presume that Denise was afraid of bugs because they don't tell us. Oh no. Anyways, through some method that I don't know, after Mike wakes up, because he does eventually wake up and leave the hospital and meet up with Terry, they just find the doctor's apartment. They just find it.
Yeah.
They just drive to it. And when they get there...
They knew where it was. It just would have been rude because he wasn't home.
He still isn't home when they go there. They just find, your usual serial killer doctor's apartment. There's some coolly lit bottles of liquids in the cabinet. There's a spooky room with like a skinned woman or maybe an anatomy figure. I'm genuinely not sure. And some magazines and clues that point them to where he's located at the silo.
It's just the silo thing.
Yeah.
They recognize it from the vision, but still they kind of just look at a picture and are like, that's it. That's where we need to go.
I mean, it's pretty iconic. It has like a little door.
Yeah, but...
I forgot something else. I'm sorry for going so out of order. The plot is just really scrambled. Nothing flows well.
Yeah.
Before Mike wakes up in the hospital, Terry also, after talking to Jeannie's mom about the steel mill where she used to play, goes to the steel mill, finds a homeless woman watching TV. She's like, you've been expecting me. Where is she? And she points to like a pool of water. And Terry finds Jeannie's corpse at the bottom of the water. And she's like, I found you. And then Jeannie's like, get revenge.
Yeah, so apparently people just knew where the body was.
Yeah.
No one could be asked.
Or at least this woman did. This woman who lives at the steel mill.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yes, finding her was not enough to stop the curse. They need to get revenge and find the doctor. Yeah, they go to the cooling tower. Mike's condition deteriorates. They barge in on the doctor as he's about to start cutting open his victim. Same victim from the start. He's been on this one woman this whole time. Cut open her chest. And they fight. Mike shoots at him. He gets up and shoots back. Terry hits him in the back of the back with a scalpel. He gets up and injects her with something. It's very back and forth. Mike goes over to a very chunky keyboard on the floor and types in FeardotCom and hits enter, and he says, Doctor, look. And the doctor looks and he sees Fear.com and he gets transported to the spirit world where Jeannie and the ghosts of his previous victims torture him in the spirit world for a little bit, but in the real world, he's just sort of like zonked out and like sliding down an operating table. And eventually he dies. And then, Wikipedia just told me that Mike dies from his gunshot wound.
They did not.
That was not clear.
It was really not clear.
That's sad. That makes it a little sadder. The last scene is Terry alone in her bed with her cat, getting a phone call that is just static on the other end, and she hangs up.
That also makes it sound way spookier than what really happened.
It doesn't.
Yeah, what really happened
it doesn't
is
sound
she goes,
spooky.
hello, there's a little bit of static, she hangs up and then starts petting her cat. Like, I didn't even realize, it was just full like, oh, wrong number, sorry.
Yeah, I love
nonchalant.
All right, that's it for the plot.
Okay, so...
Fund me some facts.
Yep, so this film was released in 2002. Directed by William Malone, who you might know. He also directed Creature, Scared to Death, and A House on Haunted Hill. Man, everybody in the world has some take on haunting House and Hill. Like The Haunting of Hill House, House on Haunted Hill.
Is that the 1960 movie? Didn't Ashley do an episode on that?
No, I think that's a different one.
Okay, then you...
Wait, I wonder what that one's called.
That's called House on Haunted Hill.
It's just, I think it's a remake of that. But there's that one, I'm blanking on the woman's name. I just keep thinking of Sylvia Plath, but I know that's not it. Shirley Jackson. What did she write?
Oh, Turn of the Screw? We Have Always Lived in the Castle?
The Haunt, I mean, yes, but that's not what I'm thinking of.
I know.
Like The Haunting of Hill House. It just... Everybody in the world loves those three words, apparently.
Shirley Jackson, Haunting of Hill House.
Anyway, it stars Stephen Dorff, who was in Blade, Natasha McElhonney, who was in The Truman Show. I believe it was his Truman's wife.
Nice.
Could have been Truman's girlfriend, I don't remember. And Stephen Rea, who was in V for Vendetta and Interview with the Vampire.
Wait a second. Is that the Doctor?
Yes.
Who does the Doctor play in V for Vendetta?
I don't know. I
gotta look up if it's V. That would be so cringe.
I don't think so, but it could have been. In pre-production, the website was called FeardotCom. Even though the producers didn't own that website in real life, they'd hoped to buy the name from the owners, but they were told it's not for sale at any price. So they had to change it to FeardotCom.com.
Mad props to them. They actually have characters type FeardotCom.com in the movie every single time. And also, the website used to exist as a mimic of the spooky website in the movie. You now get a 403 error.
Yeah, it's been over 20 years. I don't blame them.
I know this because when I sent the movie title to Carter, it processed as a link and showed me the error as a preview. By the way, the Doctor does not play V.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Malone said that when he agreed to direct, his goal was to make the entire film look basically like a nightmare. It was originally rated NC-17, due to extreme violence. After multiple trims and appeals, it ended up being rated R. It opened at number 5 at the box office behind Signs, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, lowercase x, capital X, lowercase x, and Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams.
Great movie.
As of 2018, it holds a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. The critics' consensus is, as frustrating as a 404 error, Fear.com is a stylish, incoherent, and often nasty mess with few scares. Roger Ebert, who I still don't know who he is, but we've used his name a couple times in this podcast.
All I know is that he's a very prominent movie reviewer, but I also know he has some opinion I don't like. I forget what it is.
I remember he had some glowing recommendation of, I think it was Rings. Anyway, he said that, or he criticized the film because it was unoriginal. Mark Kermode and Cynthia Fox of Pop Matters compared the film to Cairo, David Cronenberg's Videodrome, and Ringu.
In that, the first two in that they're about the internet.
Videodrome is also about a kind of smut film that draws you into it if you watch it. So, but yes, they do have a lot of very superficial similarities, but there are some deeper ones. I haven't seen Cairo. I can't speak for that.
Next episode, I'm here.
Yes. Ringu, fun fact, a lot of people complain that the movie is very similar to The Ring, which is a remake of Ringu, but this movie was released 2 months before
I saw
The Ring.
I had to check because I was like, wow. Not like it matters because Ringu came out like years before, but...
Yeah, I don't know how much of the source material, but it is so boringly similar to The Ring.
Yeah, but with none of the good.
Yeah. Empire Magazine gave this 1 out of 5 stars, calling it arguably the least imaginative, most pathetic horror of the decade. The basis of the movie, this is the final fact, is a woman with hemophilia. Generally affects men, but sometimes women get it too.
You know, Holly was actually there when I was watching this, and she told me that as well. Mm-hmm. It's possible for women to get it. It's just really unlikely.
Yeah, I believe women are also 4 times less likely to be colorblind.
Yeah, and male pattern baldness. It's all about the chromosomes. I forget which is XX.
Girls can get male pattern baldness?
No, they can't. Or they don't, because it's... Hold on. Whichever chromosome that boys have 2 of and girls have 1 of. Okay. It's X.
No, girls have Isn't 2 X chromosomes. Guys have XY chromosomes.
Okay, yes. This was super confusing to me. But something about because the guys only have 1 X chromosome, if that X chromosome has a recessive gene for things like hemophilia or male pattern baldness, there is no other X chromosome to sort of override it. So you only need it from one parent versus from both.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Yes, it all clicks now.
Okay. And then apparently the mutilated bodies in Pratt's apartment are real bodies that were transformed into art by the German sculptor Gunther von Hagens. I don't know what the fuck that means. If they dug up corpses and posed them, or if people like agreed to be made into art after they died.
I really hope it's the latter.
I truly don't know.
I just want to say Gunther von Hagens is a real... He would make corpse art with that name.
Any German would. We actually have a decent amount of Germans in the in our listeners. So
That's true.
I should probably cut that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. One German listener.
Yeah. I mean, this movie had a lot of the German language in it too.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, so get a translator so we can figure out what the fuck this guy's saying.
Oh, I forgot about the German guy.
He's like, ich habe eine Kartoffel. It was just like very obviously German. I was like,
well, no, they said he was German.
Eventually.
You're telling me the cops were like,
surely you could have like, just hearing that guy scream in German, you'd be like, okay, that sounds like German.
Yeah.
I am all done with my facts.
Yes.
Are you ready to talk about the good?
Yes.
The good. Dun, dun, dun. Number 1. FeardotCom.com.
It's in my bad.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, because I'm saying it's good in an insincere way. I'm laughing at this movie.
I know. FeardotCom.com. It's so...
goofy.
Yeah. I don't know. I place a lot of importance on, like, the mood. Like, you gotta be in a scareable mood, and seeing someone type fear.com.com on an early 2000s keyboard just... You can't take it seriously. They should have changed to a different...
Fear.net. Fear.org.
Fear.net, yeah.
Fear.edu.
Learn about your fears.
Imagine if they found out it was a government site.
My God. I don't know. I don't know what the words or synonyms for fear are. That's the filmmaker's job. But like, dude, pick a domain. Pick a domain you can get.
This is the early 2000s when like there were plenty of domains to go around.
Yeah, they aren't all taken yet. Imagine having one single idea and it's the phrase fear.com. And then when that idea hits a roadblock, instead of like taking a detour, you just sort of like roll your body over the block.
The fear portion of this movie is very mild. Like,
it's not scary.
They easily could have removed everything about fear and just made it about a snuff thing.
Yeah.
Is like...
What? Wait. We're getting into the bad. We're supposed to
It's all bad. I like... That's the trick.
Yeah.
So I liked in the very beginning when it was clear that there was a ghost, it was implied there was a virus, and it was clear there was a serial killer. It was 3 plots layered together, and I was like, okay, how is this going to play out? This is interesting. It was done poorly, but it was briefly very interesting.
I mean, I don't know if I would count the virus one, because that just seems like classic horror setup where they see the supernatural thing happening and they go to the rational explanation. Also, it brings our girl Terry into the plot. I feel like that's, I don't know. They clear that up pretty early.
Yeah.
But yeah, the parallel plots that like come together of like the doctor and the ghost, it's like, it's kind of like Rings if we saw the guy, the bad guy in that more throughout the movie.
I can't remember what.
It was
there was a bad guy, right? Yeah, I think
it was her abusive dad.
The guy who went on to be the guy in Succession.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Good for him.
Yeah, and he was also Stryker in X2.
Haven't seen it.
It's not bad.
What's X2? Is that the
X-Men 2?
Oh, okay, yeah.
The far superior Patrick Stewart.
I have a lot of nostalgia for those X-Men movies.
Yeah.
They're like real all over the place in terms of quality, but they're fun. I think X-Men are fun.
I think the old ones, in my opinion, are far better than the newer ones they made. Yeah. Anyway, what did you like about this movie?
Okay, I talked about this briefly at the start of the plot. I like the TV staticky effect on the guy's hand after he got killed. It made me think that we were sort of going for like a, the theme of this movie is supposedly internet ghosts. So having that like digital effect on him after he died intrigued me. And then it was never ever used again. Also, the staticky, like flickering neon of the ghost girl looking over his corpse, never used again. Mm-hmm. Total waste, but that was cool for a second. I like how, like you said about making it feel like a nightmare, I like how incredibly gloomy and dirty the city feels. Mm-hmm. It's very like early 2000s dystopia kind of thing going on.
I personally think it was done terribly, because the entire set is just this massively boring gray. There isn't even any graffiti on the walls to add any amount of color.
We don't see a lot of the outdoors.
I mean, even inside, everyone's house looks exactly the same, like just peeling wallpaper, gray, poor lighting. And there's a lot of ways to make something dingy and dark without it literally just being hard to see and boring black and gray. Mm-hmm. It was just concrete as far as the eye could see.
That's fair. Like, I don't know. I think the insides had enough variety. Like, we had a hospital. We had Denise's office super stood out to me as this absolutely, like, luscious, like, half-circle room with giant windows and purple wallpaper.
This is back in the time where, like, if you knew how to use a computer, you were a god.
Might be a little later than that. This is the early internet. Once the internet got real, Denise is going to be a god if she didn't die by cockroach.
Yeah, it's a damn shame that she must have been one of the first female programmers. And
the first programmer was female.
Let me rephrase that. This was a time in which.
Yes.
Even more so than it is now. It's a male-dominated industry.
When did we go to the moon? Because a lot of the programmers on 60s. That. Yeah.
Some of the programmers on that were women.
Some of the very notable. Anyways.
Well, that's kind of the thing, is that if you're not one of the smartest...
I didn't mind this set, I guess. We had a surprising amount of variety, almost a comical amount of variety between our dingy city, that funky office, we got the police station, we got Terry's office, we got a steel mill, we've got a nice little Catholic home where Jeannie's mom lives.
I'll concede the Catholic home, but to me, all the others just looked so similar.
The steel mill and the cooling tower were really a little similar.
I think a big part of it is that a significant amount of this movie was shot in, like, recreated sets. And I imagine just whoever they got was not very good, because
mean like they built, like, fake city blocks? Yep. Fake.
It was all in a studio.
Is that not common? Do people really go to actual buildings for most movies?
I don't know how common it is, but they certainly do a better job of designing them to look different.
I see.
You could tell the same person made all of these sets.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any more goods? I have one more.
Yeah, the fucking hard drive floppy disk. I thought that was hilarious. She's like checking their browser history and she just puts in a hard drive or a floppy disk and it shows her hard drive thing like
I loved it. It was
again, I'm kind of laughing at it, but
yeah, still.
He has some line, Mike or whatever. He says like, yeah, talking about viruses. He was like, I hate things that I can't see. And I was like, oh, hey, maybe he's also referring to ghosts. That's cool.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that. I was focused on something else in that scene. That's in my bag.
What was he focusing on? Or what were you focusing on, rather?
So, this is basically a cop movie. This is a slightly supernatural cop movie, not a horror movie.
This sounds like you have a lot prepared for this.
I have a little. Okay, so let's wrap
hold
up
off
my goods.
Yeah.
I like how the first victim is German, but the first victims after the train guy, the first victims that we see before they die are German. And I like that they don't actually have a translator. So we get to see them react and like talk and exclaim and like, talk to each other about what's happening. And we see the guy freak out as he's being dragged into the police station without understanding it. So it keeps a bit of like an air of mystique. And we're like, oh God, what's got him so riled up? I thought it was clever. Mm-hmm.
I will say it was kind of hilarious watching some of the German footage because like they're hanging out in a park and the woman is like, oh mein Gott, gib mir die Kamera. And I'm like, I wonder what she said there. And like every fucking word in that sentence was a cognate.
See, you know a little bit of German?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't. So I heard all mine and I'm like,
yeah,
not listening.
It was
These aren't words to
like
me.
Every fucking word in that sentence was mostly English.
I suppose it was German enough that I didn't try to understand.
I bet if you saw it in writing, you would have picked up on it. But
yeah. Okay, I have a few good-ish.
Okay.
The blue filter in a lot of scenes made me think of Twilight. That's always cool. I love the cat, Benny. He appears exactly 4 times. When Terry is watching the evidence tape at home, still don't know how she got the jurisdiction to do that. This is not her job. She says, turn around, Benny. I don't want you watching this. And she covers his eyes.
Benny's killed. Like
Benny's a killer, but he's sweet.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's it, actually. That's it for my good-ish. The bad.
I'm interested in hearing what you had to say about the cop movie, because
it's not actually that much, but like this is basically a cop movie with a slightly spooky element. We've got our duo, with different skill sets. They're hunting a killer. The only difference, I don't know. Terry goes to talk to the victim's mom. She finds the body. They collect evidence. They bust into the guy's apartment like guns a-blazing. And the only supernatural element is that Terry has these visions from the ghost, sort of guiding her a little.
Yeah,
the plot's laid out like they're trying to hunt a killer much more than it is about a supernatural movie.
Yeah, now that you pointed out, the movie is them trying to find the killer and a ghost is somehow involved.
The ghost is incidental almost.
The ghost really could be removed.
It could be. It really could be.
The only thing that the supernatural element added, even beyond the plot, also thematically, because it wasn't scary at all, the only thing that the supernatural element added was they were able to find out where he was.
And I feel like you could have convoluted something you didn't even need that.
Yeah.
You could have seen the magazines on his desk and been like, oh, he circled this weird silo that's isolated.
I would have liked something better than that, but
no, that would have been shitty, but I'm sure you could have written something. But also, so in the thing where he's like, I don't like germs, I can't see them, I think it's that scene where they're in the car and Terry's like, he's like, how do you deal with your job? And she's like, I keep disease in check before it can spread. You and we do the same thing. And I was just kind of like, ew, that's icky.
Yeah, and also, that's exactly what she said to her cat, huh?
Yeah. You mean Benny. 3 peas in a pod, bumps on a log. But also talking about cops, I think Mike's fear might just be criminals, because while they're driving to the silo, he hallucinates like men in baggy jackets with like chains and other improvised weapons like walking towards the car, and he's like, I'm losing it, Terry.
He's like, and I see minorities.
Literally.
Low-income neighborhoods.
My God, they finally found me, Terry. Everyone else only hallucinates their fears or the ghost girl, so I can only assume Mike's fears are women and minorities. And ain't that a loaded bit of info?
The law requires that we don't add anything more on this. Yeah, I mentioned that I found it extremely boring as a set, just very gray. But also, there was like these terrible Saw-type rotating shots around people. The camera work in general was just awful.
Yeah, I already talked about Wiggly Cam. They didn't abuse...
I forgot about the fucking Wiggly Cam.
I think it was in Bone Snatcher where they abused like the flash cut a little too often. This didn't abuse one single thing too often. It was just a disgusting, sloppy mess of like 4 different ones that are each used like 3 or 4 times. And none of it...
I will argue that using the Wiggly Cam at all was overusing it.
That's true.
It looked horrible.
I can't think of a single situation where Wiggly Cam would look good, even if a character's drunk, which I suppose it's supposed to represent, or like, feeling dizzy.
If they were drunk...
It's so cheesy.
If they were drunk and it was portrayed as like a funny kind of drunk,
yeah, in a comedy,
that might have been an enjoyable thing. But he's like, "Whoa, ghost!"
When the backup detectives, aka ones that aren't Mike, are investigating, I think it's the German's apartment. They find a really cool sliding door with a circuit board, like a circuit board pattern, like lines and the hollow circles. But it's a door, and it's made of metal, and one of the cops, like, looks at it, and he's like, artists. I'm putting that in the bad because I want that door, and I think it's rude of the movie to make a really cool door and then just dunk on it for no reason.
In general, we knew a lot of stuff that the character didn't, and the vast majority of this movie was just kind of waiting for the characters to figure out what we knew.
That's true. We see the doctor, and we put together the ghost pretty early.
We can very quickly assume that they're connected, yeah.
There's nothing to do except watch it play out and watch these unlikable, blasé characters eventually catch up to, what we knew at like minute 30.
Mm-hmm. And the characters are unbelievably boring.
Yes.
I can't name a single personality trait about any of them, except their jobs and their names.
Mike is a cop, and Terry likes Mike. Terry's also a nerd about public health. That's it. I thought that was a little endearing. She went rambling about, like, viruses and stuff in a really, like, I don't know. But maybe I found it endearing because it was a shred of personality.
Yeah.
Otherwise, empty movie.
We're just suckling at it. Just it's like excited for a little bit of anything.
Depth.
It's also just not a very scary concept. It's like a serial killer
really isn't.
And a ghost that causes you to die from fear. Those don't mesh well at all.
I'm not sure what the ghost's MO is. She seems to be, maybe once you're a ghost, you lose a bit of yourself. Mm-hmm. Maybe your critical thinking skills go. But she can talk to people, and she clearly wants them to avenge her. Why does she kill people in 48 hours? That's very little time. That's less time than Rings gives you.
Yeah. I mean, the significance of it is that's how long she lasted.
I know.
I know what you're saying.
It just seems, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's so much like The Ring, except it's worse in every single way because we know so much about it. Like, The Ring unfolds as a plot.
Also,
this is very much just like, here's everything.
Yeah. And, like, in The Ring, it's scary. Samara is... That's her name, right?
Yeah.
Samara is scary. Mm-hmm. The way she kills people is scary. People are, like, contorted and, fucked up.
They actually die from fear.
They die from fear.
And we get that feeling of fear.
These people presumably kill themselves to avoid dying of fear or something like that.
It's never made
It's
clear.
never made particularly clear. Speaking of the plot being so clear from the get-go, Mike even knows the doctor before the movie starts. This is the dumbest fucking thing I can imagine. When they hear about like the website or something, I think it's around then, Mike's like, the doctor, he's a skeleton from my closet. I never could catch him. He live streams himself torturing women, but he never uses the same website twice. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. Like, we know that. Now you know that. Why are we watching the movie?
Yeah. Maybe it could have been done interesting if they threw us, like, in the middle of him chasing... Not literally chasing him down,
If they threw it in, if, like, when they finally got him, like, Mike and Terry are there and the doctor's there and he's like, Mike. Mm-hmm. And Mike is like, I found you again. And Terry's like, what?
I don't know. That, to me, seems
seems cheesy, too.
Yeah. I just... If the movie almost started in the thick of his metaphorical chase with the serial killer, it would have been more interesting than like, my old nemesis.
Yeah, I don't think there's any good way to do it because if we start in the middle of the chase, then
again, not literally chasing.
I know. His hunt, his investigation. Yes, yeah. Then the way they would probably do that is have us learn about the doctor from Mike. But, like, that's worse than us getting to know him in, like, a little intro? I don't know. Mm.
There was a lot of really, really bad special effects.
Yeah.
Like the point-and-click adventure, FeardotCom.
Yeah.
There's one where they pry a door open with a crowbar, and from the instant you see the door, it's clear that the door is not only unlocked, it is unlatched, and pretty loose in the frame, too.
I didn't notice.
It was like 1, 2, and you could see the doors shaking just by like him holding the crowbar in place.
Oh my God. Wait.
And then when he gets hit by the train and he just kind of like, whoa.
I didn't notice that. But I will say, for getting hit by a train, his body's remarkably intact. Yeah, it does look like he died of fright.
He took quite a bit of internal damage, but he survived getting hit by the train. Like,
oh, I forgot something. This is awful. I forgot something from the plot.
What?
The guy who gets hit by a train is like Popoloff or whatever. He's like a CS professor, and he's clutching his own textbook when he gets hit by the train in a plastic bag so it doesn't get wet from the rain. Very considerate. And they find the co-author who's like a drunkard with a Jeff Goldblum-esque voice. And he's like, yeah, I wrote that with Popoloff because I needed to pay off my car. I don't believe a word of it. But he was convinced the internet could hold ghosts.
Yeah. And then, like, it just is never referred to again. They just drop it.
Well, I mean, it's true. It's the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
It's the internet can hold ghosts.
Which is way stupider. They should have just been like, yeah, it's a ghost. Move on. They shouldn't have been like, it's an internet ghost.
No. In a better movie, the idea of an internet ghost is scary. They're brushing a good idea gently about how all the connected computers are like neurons and how it stores and shares information. It could be a brain. But then, yeah.
I think you had some thoughts about the serial killer, too.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to talk about him? Because I know you do. So, he's really over the top. He's got so many Joker-esque one-liners. I gave a bunch at the start, so I won't do too many more. But one that I forgot about, when Mike shows up and has him at gunpoint, he's holding like a scalpel to his victim's neck or something, and he's like, he has a hostage. And he says, you won't kill her. You suffer from the hero's curse of hope. And like, Jesus Christ, who wrote that?
It was clearly a lot of like philosophizing by someone who didn't know much about philosophy. It's like, I bet if I say something really, really deep, it'll sound intelligent and profound.
Yeah. Another quote that I won't say in his voice, because it's a longer one and it's important, is when he is like starting to torture this girl and he's explaining his shtick with his live stream. He says his reasoning for this is He says, reducing relationships to anonymous electronic impulses is a perversion, but here we offer intimacy. You know, he's saying, like, the internet has, like, eroded our connections to each other, but in torturing you, this is the greatest connection of all, which is, you know, he's live streaming it on the internet to anonymous people who tune in to watch it in a disconnected
and presumably
manner.
jerk off.
And
Yeah.
Perhaps. Maybe they do. We never know.
It's never explicitly shown.
It's never shown that they don't. So, But yeah, so it just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And then right after that, he says the line about how the internet has everything already, so why not add death? Like, it's so inconsistent for his MO.
And he's also just, like, the creepiest dude alive. He's not a very interesting serial killer. It's just...
Yeah. When we first get introduced to him, we actually get, like, a close-up of his mouth talking as he invites the woman to his missile silo, nuclear coolant tube to star in a movie.
He's like, I'd love to photograph you. Come to the outskirts of town in the steel mill.
I think you have leading lady potential.
And then my biggest complaint about this movie is that the main characters really just don't figure anything out. They discover nothing. They kind of just have things happen to them for a while.
That's on the movie's fault because there is nothing to discover. Like, what did they discover? There is a ghost. They discover the ghost's body. They discover the website is cursed. Those are three very low-hanging fruits.
Yeah, and then they just, like, they go to a place, and the woman's like, there's a body down there, and then they go to another place, and she's like, look, that's where he is, and then they go to that place, and they find him.
They are told so much.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
You know, actually, I think I wrote this down in the spooky, but this is really a bad. This movie feels like a bad haunted house turned into a movie. Does that make sense? Like, with all the shitty effects, like, I don't know, the strobe lights, the wiggly cam. There's one scene where Terry's in a hallucination, she sees the ghost, and there's like a swinging lamp on a rusty chain. Like, and the way the characters are on such like a fixed track where things just happen to them and they keep moving on, they're being pushed toward the answers. It feels like we're being walked through a haunted house.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I kind of see that.
There's nothing scary or even mysterious happening. We're just witnessing, like, spooky rooms.
Are you ready to talk about the spooky?
Almost.
Right.
Let me have a few more bads.
Hit me with them.
While I cross off some that have inevitably come up in the plot and good. Why does Jeannie have a European accent when her mom doesn't? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I guess you're right, huh?
If the website is cursed, how does the doctor do any maintenance on it? Because it's shown that as soon as the doctor sees the website, he's basically killed instantly. But he also has to do something to set up his live stream unless he has not touched it in years and just has a camera always going.
It's got like Twitch where he just has to hit one button and it's going.
Maybe. But then how do his viewers watch the live stream without dying? Is it a different website? It's shown that when they...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, he has like 100 viewers.
He has 1,000.
At the end.
No, at the beginning.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, so, but when he's getting shot at and fighting Mike, the counter goes up to like 1,500, and he's like, they love a comeback. And it's, you know, are these people not all going to die in 48 hours? And also, how does the word get around quick enough that, like, something awesome is happening on Dr. Creepo's stream? You gotta check it out.
I do like the idea of, like, someone tuning in to watch some snuff porn, and, like, there's a fucking gunfight going on as the cops raid the compound.
And they text their 4 snuff-enjoying friends.
Their Discord.
Like, damn. No, they're like AOL chat room. Snuff boys 1, 2, 3. Like,
yo, guys, you gotta tune in. This is gonna be the last stream for sure.
The doctor's getting swatted.
just 1,500 people, like, Just like pants around their ankles watching.
It's so rough.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's time for the spooky.
The spooky! Okay.
If there was such a thing.
I don't know, serial killers are kind of spooky, I guess.
Not this one.
No, not this
if
one.
If a creepy man invites you to get filmed at the old nuclear power plant, don't go.
He was so creepy that it wasn't scary. Like, it came back around.
No, I was trying to think about, like, if it would be, how much better it would be if he talked normally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a little, like, emotionless, but, like a normal person.
Yeah, it went back around from, like, the don't go in the basement kind of horror to, like, if they were going in the basement and you could see the killer just standing there.
And they keep walking.
Like, yeah, I was like, well, I mean, I know what's going to happen. She's going to get kidnapped here. It came back around, so he was so creepy that it wasn't scary at all.
I don't know. He only has one victim throughout the entire movie, so we can chalk it up to one person's bad judgment. Mm-hmm. Maybe he was less creepy when he abducted the previous tens of girls.
Yeah. So, overall, this movie's like The Ring, but worse in every single imaginable way.
Pretty much. One thing it does have is it's like The Ring, but instead of a cursed tape, it's like, a website is like always available to you. So it's sort of like a curiosity killed the cat kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
but
imagine if the tape that would kill you instantly was just sitting in your living room. It's not scary.
Right. Well,
but imagine if it was sitting in everyone's living room. Imagine if you could go on Netflix and stream the tape that kills you and you would fucking die.
That to me comes back around to being almost a little goofy. Hundreds of thousands of people would die, it's just it steps away from being grounded in what can hurt you to like a statistic almost.
I think we talked about this last time, but it plays into my fear of the end of Rings where the cursed tape gets uploaded on YouTube.
How many days ago did you watch that? Because I'm pretty sure it's more than 7.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think you're going to be okay, Ian.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I liked that the movie started with all these complex plot lines, like the ghost, the serial killer, maybe a virus, even though that, to me, was a clear mislead. Mm-hmm. It was at least adding a little bit of complexity, but it thinned out so fast.
Yeah.
My final thoughts on the movie is every single part of this was bad. Every single part.
I have a few more.
Yeah.
I have a few more spookies. Just a few. This is like a spooky bad. A lot of these are spooky bads. But we got a lot of montages of like women being tortured as we, supposedly see content from the website. But it's shown so quickly, like it flashes through a bunch of different images and they're so grainy. Sometimes they print them out and show them to us, but it's really grainy. There's a single scene where Terry gets like a vision, like a clear vision of like 4 distinct like acts of torture or whatever happening, and it's a little not scary but maybe unnerving, and I don't know, it's like these torture horror movies, it's a torture horror movie but you never see the torture. Mm-hmm. Like at the end, right before the cops bust in, of course, the girl he's been torturing is just like, all right, I give up, kill me, and he draws like the lines for his incision on her chest. And when I first saw that scene, in that like doctor marker, when I first saw that scene, I thought that was him cutting her open. And I was actually scared by like how casually he did it and how easy it was to what looked like slice her chest open. But then he just puts a cap on the Sharpie and like gently presses the scalpel to it, to the line. It's like, oh, okay.
That's how you can tell he's not a real doctor. Didn't disinfect it.
Well, they did say he got kicked out of med school.
Yeah.
Well, why is he going to disinfect it? He's about to kill her.
So, is that all for your spooky?
I guess.
Okay. My Ralph Bones Memorial Line highlight, and I'm glad you mentioned these dudes because they're talking to the writer guy, and he's like...
Yes.
He's like, hey, but then I'm drunk by 8 p.m., and Mike goes... It's noon, and the guy goes, hey, I'm ahead of the game.
I wrote that line down, but I didn't want to say it in case it was your memorial.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
Not really. At one point when she's looking for the body, she just goes diving in the pool that presumably has the body, and then she finds the body, and it's like, ew, corpse water. And then she carries the body up with her bare hands, and it's like, ew.
Yeah. What's that thing where like you wouldn't swim in a bathtub with a corpse?
Is it the poop ratio?
Something like
if someone poops in a tub, you wouldn't go in it. If someone poops in a pool, you wouldn't go in it. But there's definitely poop in the ocean, and you go in that.
There is a steel mill of water large enough that you would go in, even though it's corpse water.
Yes. Another important metric of the poop water is like, what if it was an L-shaped pool and the poop was around the corner? You couldn't see the poop, but you knew it was there.
Look, I think the amount of grossness of poop in a pool is overblown. I think that it's all mental. I think if we had a little poop section where you didn't have to look at it, I don't think people would mind.
You put a little curtain. I'm Carter, but what's the con? Like, do you want to swim that badly that you would stay in the poop pool?
The poop pool?
The poop pool. I wouldn't. No amount of... It could be the hottest day on record, and I'd be like, all right, I've had enough. I'm going home.
All right. Well, I just simply don't believe that everybody who gets in a pool with me is so great at hygiene
that's what the chlorine's for. There's like a baseline level that the chlorine covers.
Yeah,
but
and surely a little bit of poop is enough. I think this is all in your head.
All right. Well, it's a shame that we'll never be able to test
No,
this.
we are going to be doing some experiments.
All right. How about something other than poop? So something else gross.
I'm going to
gluten.
Be like,
I'll put gluten
Ian,
in the pool.
Hey, Ian, I just built a pool in my backyard. Do you want to go swimming?
No. Oh, wait. I thought of another bad.
What?
This was actually awful. So the blanket bad for this, there was no tension at all, even in the attempting scary parts of the movie. There was one time I was lightly spooked. It was when they rounded the corner and there was the skinned woman and the doctors. Anyways, but I don't know, like when Terry's like watching the ball, the ghost's rubber ball, like roll down the hallway, and she's walking towards it as it like rolls into a room, and then she follows it. It cuts back and forth between like Terry ball, instead of letting us actually like think about it and anticipate anything. Like, it's not a horror movie. And there's this shitty little that plays whenever anything happens. Anything plot relevant. And it is not scary. It kills the mood. And my last thing is when the doctor gets transported to the spirit world. I actually loved it.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Oh my God. So the ghost comes out of the TV and it takes him to the spirit world, I guess. And it's like the room he's in, but everything's beige, and like child Genie isn't like in front of him, like bouncing the ball and like kind of flickering and distorting in like a digital way. And that's kind of what I wanted more of. And she like flickers to like adult Genie and then to like adult post-torture Genie. And then there's a weird effect I can't really put into words, but it's like she turns into like a wibbly streak and like starts circling him. And there are these women like chained against the wall who are like almost featureless, like they're like covered in duct tape or something, and they join in one by one. It was very like between the beige effect and like the horrifying featureless women ghosts. It was kind of Silent Hill. Mm-hmm. I thought that was neat. But then, it's spliced with cuts of what's happening in the real world, and it's just the doctor having a stroke, basically, over the course of, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
He slides
someone
down.
Googled FeardotCom.com in front of him.
Literally. They have the same effect whenever someone goes to FeardotCom.com, and it's an effect that made sense when it was the programmer searching the hard drives, because there were 3 hard drives, and The effect is there's like 3 columns of text, and fear.com.com shows up in all of them. And then they like merge, and there's the big words fear.com.com. And then the screen like gets like clouded by inkiness.
Yeah.
And then the website like bursts into view. And even when it's not her, even when it's just Mike typing it in on a computer, it does the same 3 columns. And they clearly only paid for one effect to be made.
It would be the same no matter how you launch it.
He typed it thrice.
Yeah. All right. So thank God that's the end of this nightmare.
Yeah. It's worse than I remember.
Yeah. So next week, I don't know. Ashley and I are doing something, I'm sure. I'm sure we have a plan.
As if I don't know already. What's your rating?
1.
1.com.
Yeah. Doesn't even deserve the second .com. And that's all for today. Check us out next week when we watch some other one. Hopefully it'll be better.
Something better, I hope.
Let's hope. All right, this has been Horror Sucks. Ian, do you have anything you want to plug?
Nope.
Your cat, Newton?
Newton is very cute. He's a black cat. He's a good boy. He scratched me yesterday, but he's still a good boy.
What a piece of shit.
Don't you dare. Newton's feisty.
All right, this has been Horror Sucks. Remember,
stay spooky.
Horror Sucks is brought to you by us.